first making presentation on their budget today is our state treasurer, Vivek Malik. So, treasurer, please come forward and begin. Hi.
How are you?
Pretty good, Mr. Scholl. Well, it's been almost a little bit over a week since we were together, right?
Mm-hmm.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Vivek Malik, State Treasurer. On my left is Assistant Treasurer Doug Scholl. Thank you for your service and your time. The Treasurer's Office had a very successful year last year, and my office and I plan for many more milestones to come. As Missouri Treasurer, my utmost responsibility is to serve as the Chief Banking and Investment Officer of the state, ensuring steady returns and enhanced performance on investments of the people's money. With that said, I am proud to say that in fiscal year 2025, the Treasurer's Office earned over $550 million in investments from state funds. None of this would have been possible without the diligent work of my staff, particularly those in the investment and banking divisions. The Treasurer's Office not only invests and manages state funds, but also administers key programs like MOBUCS, which achieved remarkable success last year by supporting Missouri's small businesses and farmers. In program year 2025, MOBUCS recorded a 34% increase in linked deposit, resulting in over $780 million in total linked deposit and 430 new deposits. Of these linked deposits, 63% fueled economic growth through small businesses, while 30% helped Missouri farmers offset rising operating costs. Building on the legislature's support to raise the MOBUCS cap from $800 million to $1.2 billion, our office responded decisively. We processed the largest application period in program's history, receiving over 570 applications, totaling $405 million in requested funds. Following this milestone, we opened the portal this fall exclusively for agriculture to ensure Missouri's farmers and ranchers have access to financial tools when they need them most. Nearly $70 million in deposits were approved from the fall portal opening dedicated specifically to ag. In unclaimed property, we have broken record in returning Missourians their unclaimed money. In 2025, we returned $57.8 million, another consecutive record since I took office. Additionally, results of the 2025 unclaimed property auction broke records, generating over $319,000 in total sales, the highest amount collected in a single auction in the past 15 years. Among all programs reporting record results from the prior year, the Most Scholars program stands out as a true success story. Its growth has been nothing short of explosive. In the 2025-26 school year, the total number of scholarships awarded surged by an incredible 140%. And yes, that is true if you heard it correctly, 140% was the growth in the program. This year alone, nearly 6,500 scholarships totaling $43 million are transforming lives across Missouri, but behind these numbers are real people, parents and children who deserve better opportunities. Most Scholars is more than a program, it's a promise that here in Missouri we are empowering more families than ever before with the freedom to choose the educational path that best fits their child. And the momentum continues. In 26-27 academic year, it is shaping up to be even more remarkable on October 1st. On October 1st, we opened the application window earlier than ever before, giving families additional time to prepare and submit documentation. I'm glad to submit that as of today, we have already received almost 6,200 new applications. And if the pace holds, we anticipate over 10,520 new applications by the start of next school year. That growth could increase the need for scholarships funding to nearly $75.3 million for the new applicants and $121.2 million for both new and returning scholars in the fiscal year 2027. Missourians are demanding more educational choice, and most scholars are delivering. I'm also proud to report that the most 529 educational savings plan surpassed over 200,000 accounts with over $5 billion in assets under management. This achievement signifies that foresight of thousands of Missouri families committed to saving for future education expenses. Additionally, the Moable Disability Savings Program has officially expanded eligibility following the implementation of the federal Able Age Adjustment Act, meaning individuals whose disability began before age 46 are now eligible to open an Able account, up from the previous age limit of 26. This is a game changer for individuals with disabilities and their families, and we expect increased growth and participation by Missourians with disabilities, especially within our veteran community. In closing, we have worked hard, spent our allocated budget judiciously, and maintained a lean operation. I am grateful to my staff for their effort they have put into making this a very successful year. And if the chair would now allow, we would like to address directly through NDIs, if that's okay.
Well, I need to turn on my microphone first, right? So people can hear me. Thank you and your staff for helping so much with the MOBUX program on agriculture. And I know you highlighted that in your intro, but certainly both from the producer side, people that contacted me prior to improvements that you made, to post those improvements. Life is much better. I don't think that you harmed any taxpayer, not one Missouri dollar, as you guys worked through a system that I think is more efficient. Even though I just had somebody brag about the lottery system to me last week, okay, that I did not ask for it, etc. But they said, we even like that. So thank you all for that effort that you put in, and I know maybe the angst that I may have caused during that effort, but the end result is very blessed in our part of the world, in the ag part.
We appreciate your involvement in that process, and that actually helped. Thank you very much, Senator.
Thank you. Senator Crawford.
I would just also like to publicly thank you and your staff, especially on the MOBUX, because you did listen to us, and we all know there were some pretty severe problems with the program, and you listened to our suggestions, and life is good. So I just wanted to publicly thank you and your staff as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator.
Senator Byrne.
Thank you. Good morning, Treasurer. Thanks
Good
for
morning.
being with us this morning. And I'd like to applaud your office on the work that you've done in terms of getting property back to Missourians. And really applaud your office and continuing those efforts to get unclaimed property back. Also, sounds like you all had a great auction as well. So thank you for those efforts. One of the things that you mentioned in your opening comments was about the Mo Scholars Program. And I want to ask you some questions about that, as we have an additional request for more general revenue, more tax dollars going into these programs. You shared, well, just big picture first, let's start there. How many people in your office oversee this program?
Right now we have 3 people overseeing the program.
Okay. And what is your office doing to prevent fraud in this program?
So far, the due diligence that has been given to the program, we haven't seen a single incidence of that. And I can have Doug Schull allude more to that issue.
And we could also bring our program director, Trent Blair, up here too, to go more into the specifics. But we've obviously set up processes and procedures that we believe help protect that money. We are finishing up some account reviews and processes that include auditors going out to the EAOs and looking at specific transactions and making sure that money is spent in the right way in the statutory categories that the legislature has provided for us.
Okay. In the rules that are promulgated by your office is supposed to report the following. Okay, so I have the rules in front of me. We are supposed to be seeing published on your website results from annual achievement test, results from annual parental satisfaction surveys, rates of high school graduation. And I understand while this program is new, some of this might not be available, but it should be available soon. But when looking at your website, I couldn't find any of these reports. Is your office not publishing these? And if they are, then where can I find them?
So, as per Section 135.714 RSMO, number 3, it states, provide test results and the associated learning gains to public via state website after the third year of test and test-related data collection. So, if you calculate, we are currently in the after the third year in the data collection phase. So 2022-23 was the first year of the program, 23-24 was the second year, 24-25 third year of the program, and second year of the test data collection. Current year, which is 25-26, is the fourth year of the program and third year of data collection. So we are on schedule, and we will be publishing as we are ready with all the data.
Okay, so when do you anticipate publishing that?
That will be, we're just compiling it and putting it together right now. We have a third-party vendor who is putting all that together. It will be coming up shortly in next, I hate to say a date, but it will be fairly quickly.
This spring?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So we anticipate seeing, and again, I'm just looking at what your office promulgated through rules, that we should see everything from the nationally norm reference test. I think one of the biggest questions as we look at state dollars is, are we seeing improvements in student achievement? Also, parental satisfaction. I would like to see, obviously, increases in graduation rates, all of those things. But one of the things that we've really had a difficult time ascertaining is who is receiving the vouchers. Do you know how many schools currently accept vouchers in the state? About 300
Plus 300,
schools?
yes.
Okay. One of the things you mentioned in your opening comment was, and I'm sorry, I'm paraphrasing, but essentially providing families with choice. My question to you is, are schools able to choose their students?
It's the other way around. It's parents and students are able to choose the school.
Okay, so schools are not able to select the students that they choose to admit?
It is a
Or
parent's choice. It's a choice for parents and
Okay.
students.
So do the schools have to admit all students?
Depending on whatever their criteria for admissions is, I mean, they have their own qualifications. Schools have their own qualifications.
Are schools able to discriminate based on ability?
Based on?
Based on ability, whether a student has, for example, a learning disability or an IEP or a complex 504 that requires medical assistance. Are schools able to discriminate based on ability of the student?
I do not believe there's a discrimination based on IEP. If a school has the facilities available to accommodate that student, they accept that.
Would you be able to provide us with a breakdown of the schools? Again, if there's 300 schools, and I would be very curious to find out how many students are students who have IEPs, 504, and are English language learners.
That data is demographic data, and that data is available on our website.
Okay, would you be able to share that with the whole
Sure.
committee so that we have access to that? As we look at, again, an additional request from your office to increase tax dollars to private schools, one of the things that I'm very interested in seeing is if schools are increasing their tuition now that they are receiving tax dollars. When we look at other states that have expanded voucher programs, whether it's Arizona or Indiana, we saw the tuition rates increase exponentially as tax dollars were poured into those programs. Can you give us a breakdown of the tuition for the schools over the last, since we started the voucher program in Missouri, so this is year 4. So I'd like to see the rates of tuition from when the program started to where they are today.
We would be able to provide that. We will have to request the data from our EAOs, and we should be able to provide you that.
Are you aware of any tuition increases?
We have not heard of any significant tuition increases that has come as a concern to us.
Are you aware of how other states have increased tuition?
We have heard those things. But for this program, concerning this program, we haven't heard anything significant from our EAOs in that regard.
And again, would just be the second year of using public tax dollars for private vouchers. But when we look at other states, what we've seen happen is that, again, schools have increased their tuition exponentially. And that's a grave concern of mine, that we continue to see, again, schools making a big profit off of all of us. And so I'd be very interested to see that data. Okay, well, that's all I have right now on the voucher program. Thank you, Treasurer.
Thank you.
Thank you. Treasurer, Mr. Scholl, let's begin in the book.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We are on the first NDI, which is the NDI Show Me My Retirement Savings Board. The Show Me My Retirement Savings Board requests $750,000 in fiscal year 2027 to implement the Show Me My Retirement Savings Program. As noted in prior fiscal notes, the Office of the State Treasurer does not have the capacity to absorb the duties and costs necessary to launch the program. The board, comprised of members of the General Assembly and myself, has undertaken extensive research and planning, including comprehensive market analysis conducted through a formal request for information, RFI, which forms the basis of this request. The board seeks appropriations to cover essential startup costs such as consulting, legal services, marketing, outreach, and project management. The timeline for launching the program is fully dependent on appropriation. I respectfully ask for the body's support so that the necessary procurement and program implementation can begin without delay. Any questions on that? The next is the NDI for MESAP Spending Authority. The governor recommended NDI request increase spending authority for the Missouri Empowerment Scholarship Accounts Program. Most scholars, the additional $25 million in spending authority supports the program's expansion, allowing more families to access educational opportunities that meet their needs. I commend Governor Kehoe for his focus on expanding educational opportunities for families in Missouri. As treasurer, I am committed to increasing awareness and participation in Most Scholars program. The next NDI is the MESAP program staffing spending authority. This is Governor recommended NDI for program staffing provides the spending authority needed to use existing resources to support additional FTE positions within the Most Scholars program. If approved, the proposed staffing includes a compliance auditor who would help ensure that educational assistance organizations in the State Treasurer's Office continue operating in accordance with Missouri law and regulations. This role would collaborate closely with the Most Scholars independent auditor to strengthen oversight and uphold the integrity of the program operations, exactly the issue raised by Senator Nierenberg. The second position, if authorized, would be the program's first communications coordinator, responsible for expanding public awareness and connecting more Missouri families with the opportunities Most Scholar offers. Participation in Most Scholars grew by 140% last year, and demand for the upcoming academic year is already at historic high. These additional positions would allow the State Treasurer's Office to meet increased demand and expand operations beyond current capacity. I respectfully request your approval for this NDI.
Senator Nierenberg.
Okay, just briefly, so the compliance auditor would be a new FTE.
Correct.
And then the second position is which position? The communications coordinator?
It's a communications coordinator.
Okay, so what would that person be tasked with?
Basically, marketing the program, bringing
So we're
the
looking
awareness of the program across the state.
$70,000 to market this program.
That's the usual salary for anybody who would be in such a position.
One of the things, though, that you shared is that applications have already increased. Why is this position needed? Obviously, Mr. Treasurer, you know that times are tough financially for the state, and so we're really trying to scrutinize all the additional NDIs.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a very legitimate question. But again, this is a very new program, and last year only we expanded the program across state. It was only restricted to a few counties before. So that maximum number of our students who come from the rural area. They do not have these information, and I think to make sure that everybody understands and knows about the program, we would need that specific input from somebody who can address these challenges taking this program to our rural areas.
Rural areas where there's probably not a lot of educational choice, if I'm to assume. Is that correct?
There are new schools that are opening up, which are providing that, or will be the choice that will be provided to them once the new schools that open up.
Okay.
So it is
But
it is a, it is a, it is a pro, it is a it is a process where it is kind of all encompassing, encapsulating all that. It's not one piece sitting separately from a. So if there is more demand, there are more students who want, or parents more choice, then that demand will be met by seeing somebody interested in opening up a school.
And unfortunately, we already have the auditor here, because I could have asked them about the compliance if we need, an audit position in your office as well. But I guess as we look just big picture, Mr. Treasurer, the cuts across the state are concerning, to say the least. And again, when I look at a position making $70,000, and we have folks who work in the children's division, investigating child abuse and neglect and dealing with those hotline calls, I cannot in good faith put $70,000 into a fund to market a program for private schools when you're sharing that you're already up in enrollment. I do not see the need for this, Mr. Treasurer. So, okay, that's something that we'll obviously be able to decide as those who appropriate those dollars. Thank you.
Thank you. Again,
Treasurer, these two positions, at one time I thought there was discussion about having an office in another part of the state around there. Is these two positions, if they're added, does that open that office in another part of the state?
Yes, Senator, these positions will be based out of St. Louis, because out of our 7 EAOs, 6 are located in St. Louis. And to have a good working coordination with our EAOs, these positions will be based in St. Louis.
Thank you.
All right. Then the last NDI in the MESAP funding is the MESAP funding transfer. This governor recommended NDI includes an increase in the funding transfer for the Missouri Empowerment Scholarship Account program. The additional $10 million will support the program's continued growth and enable more families to access educational options that best fit their needs. And I would just like to reiterate, as I mentioned in my opening remarks, the program has had an explosion in its growth, over 140%. Given that, the program could be going up to $120 million in its total capacity. Given that, we may see a shortfall or a deficit of funds. So we would like the body to consider whatever they seem appropriate to cover that gap. Otherwise, we will have a decent list of waiting list students.
Any further questions? Yes, Senator Norman.
Again, I started nice, right, Mr. Treasurer, in terms of talking and thanking you for your work on unclaimed property. No, but just one more question while I have you up here. Movers, I think there's been a lot of talk on movers right now, and I just kind of want your perspective on this. Obviously, the financial side is a crucial part of this system, both on the expenditure side, paying the state bills, the collection side in terms of state taxes and fees. But as the person, as the state official who's responsible for transmitting and paying the bills, how highly involved are you and your team in development of the mover system? And how confident do you feel about movers right now?
I will have Doug Schill answer that question for you, Senator.
That's an easy question, Senator. Obviously this is a big lift that they're doing with this. We have multiple staff in our office, as I would have mentioned before. In an office that has 42 or 43 people, oftentimes we have a lot of people who carry a number of different roles. So as far as movers goes, there's people who will be involved on the HR side, on the budgeting side, on the expense side as well. And one of our responsibilities is we actually keep separate books. So we're not the only people in charge of getting the expenditures out, but the Commissioner of the Office of Administration, he also will make certifications and such. And so that's a separation maybe not a separation of powers issue, but that is, an internal control that the commissioner makes his certification and then we make our certification. And so this is a big lift. I have confidence in many of the people that I work with, both in the state treasurer's office and the other agencies that are here. It's something that will require a lot of work. I think there's some issues that still need to be.
Yeah. Would you
done.
speak to those issues a little bit? What do you see today as the biggest issues?
I would say it's getting the conversion from SAM 2 to that. I mean, and that's obviously things that are a little bit above my pay grade. I'm attorney by trade, obviously work in the treasurer's office now, but what Accenture and those different people are doing to incorporate that transition that's not really within our office. That is more the Office of Administration is the one who's doing the movers program. So we actually have our own separate books that we do to balance that with that.
So you feel like you do have good collaboration with OA?
Yes, I would say that, yes.
Okay. And then what else do you all need in terms of being able to implement this well? What's missing?
I would think to some degree this gets a little above. I mean, we're going to need some perseverance on this, obviously. Obviously, right now we've kind of taken a step back and reformatting how we're moving forward. All of us communicating better will always be, something that's good, but they do have the plan listed out and the things that they're trying to accomplish, and we need to just execute that better and do what we can.
So what does the timeline look like today?
I'd have to go back and look at that. I mean, I think that's still even kind of moving a little bit, so that's not going to be an answer that I have for you right now, but obviously it's not going to be this year when they had the July 1st deadline of this year. It's been moved back past that.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Mr. Shaw, you guys have one person out of your area, out of the treasurer's office, that's constantly in communication. Is there one person on this oversight group that somewhat, seems to me, it's always been around and then we reshuffled a little bit, but somebody from the treasurer's office has a voice, surely, right?
That is absolutely true, Senator. Yes.
And a vote or just a voice?
I would, yes. I mean, we obviously would have to collaborate and agree with different things in order for them to get done. So some of the things are, a lot of our issues are how the data gets into our second accounting system. And so those are things that have been worked on to some degree because, it's never going to get alive until we can maintain our books as well. So it's a very important part of the process, and we've seen some progress in that, and I anticipate that in the future too. But we do have one person who is the central contact for this. As I said, as a small office, we don't have somebody that we could just say, hey, here's 40 hours every week to do this, but we do have one person, and then we collaborate as a team with about 4 or 5 people who are working on that. So
Maybe a small staff, but there's one signature that's darn important in paying people
yes.
out of your office. You may not want to answer this, but was there a sigh of relief, or were people upset when the July 1 deadline was pulled back?
I would say it was probably a recognition of the status of things on the ground. It would have been a big, heavy lift to get that done by July 1st.
Thank you. Any other questions?
That would be all from our side, and the guys. Senator.
Thank you. Treasurer, anything else? You guys have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye. Well, we are transitioning now to Department of Revenue today. So, Director, sorry.
Oh,
I
no,
guess I needed to wander around a
perfectly
minute, but
fine.
I'm done wandering if you're ready to begin.
Sure, sure. If I could just make just a few brief comments. Trish Vincent, the Director of Revenue, glad to be here with the committee, Mr. Chair and senators. We all have heard that money is going to get tight, and having been there before a number of years ago when we were having to make sure we had money in the bank to even do refunds, certainly revenue plays a huge role in that. I'd like to point out that our budget this year is $3 million. Did I say it right? $3 million less than it was last year. So I believe that our agency, we're working really, really hard to live within our means, to do what we need to do with taxpayer dollars and do it efficiently. And you'll also notice that we're down on staff as well. You know, some of the things that we are doing, I think, that will benefit the state, that it just passed the House, was a bill on certified mail that'll save us about $2.1 million in general revenue. So we're always looking for savings, and very grateful that Senator Crawford has that bill on the Senate side. So it won't help us this year, but if we can get that across the finish line, that certainly will help us next year in using dollars wisely. And I think that's what's critical. We heard what the governor said in this, even before that, that money was going to be tight. So when you look at our budget, we only have 2 NDIs that affect general revenue. And the governor did not recommend one, and we'll talk about that in a second. The other one is refunds, and that number is given to us by budget and planning. That's not a number that we come up with. And I'm sure you know that, but it's always nice to, point that out. I also want you to know that we're doing what we over the top can do about fraud, because it is income tax time, if you didn't know that. So everybody will be filing their taxes. And so far this year, we stopped a bunch of fraud last year. And through February 18th, we've stopped $2.4 million of fraud for income tax. That's 674 returns. So our tax department, who is funded by general revenue, takes this very, very seriously. And we are doing our darndest to make sure that we're getting money back in the hands of Missourians, because like the governor says, they can spend a lot better than we can. So having said all that, we're going to go through our NDIs, which are few, and certainly happy to answer any questions that anybody has. So.
You brought up fraud, Director, and the first fraud against myself I found in 1989. Somebody on the east side of the state was receiving benefits from me, and it took me quite a while to prove I was me. Then the second time, I would have thought the federal government figured out I never pay my taxes until the last day, and the federal government never owes me money because I don't believe in that system. And it continues to be, I would imagine it happened 15, 18 years ago when that happened. And it's something that my wife and I have to live with all the time today. My question is, what relationship does Missouri Department of Revenue have with the federal government when they identify fraud? How do you find out about it? And it would be so much simpler for me if I would have had the opportunity. I'm not saying this take a bunch of FTEs. Everybody listening to me, I know what I'm saying would take a lot of FTEs. But the person that ended up being my counsel, I think was the name that they gave that person, to prove that I was the real James R. Black, was in Connecticut. And it took a long time. Of course, we missed filing deadlines, et cetera, but we were okay with that. Through that, what relationship do you have with our department, have with the federal government? And can our taxpayers, because of this relationship, receive any help from the Missouri Department of Revenue to help prove that you are the real person and not the person that's filed taxes on you?
Well, I'm going to have to get back to you on the federal government. Obviously, we get information from them. They share information. We do have a contact there. In regard to fraud, we talked about this. You told me about this situation when I met with you earlier. That is a huge concern, and I know that my folks do a great job, but again, some of it's data-driven, not necessarily talking to another person. And we have a system in our tax department. We change the algorithms all the time because these people get smarter. Stealing identity is a problem across the nation, unfortunately. And but let me get you some specific information about that, and we always are willing to help and try to dig into the problem on identity theft. And it would probably be better if I just wrote up a memo that I can share with you and the other senators and some ideas that we might have, and get some answers from my tax department, if that would be satisfactory.
Thank you.
Sure. And this is Amanda Bolid. She's our amazing budget person, and she does a great job with the budget. And I'm going to let her just go briefly through the couple of NDIs we have. And we do have one, we do get highway funds. You all know that because we issue driver's license and re-register vehicles. And so we actually get to use highway funds for a lot of that. So we do have an NDI there she'll talk about, but I'm going to let Amanda take it from here.
Not a problem. Thank you, Director, Chairman, and committee members. My name is Amanda Bolin. I'm the Budget Administrator for Department of Revenue, and let's continue on with the budget book. So turning to page 2, you can see our flexibility request. The department is requesting 10% flexibility between PS and E&E between divisions, and that's currently what we have in FY26. We want to move on to page 4, which is the highway collections. The Missouri Constitution limits the department to spending no more than 3% of highway funds. This is to show in one place all the GR subsidy for highway collections. This funding covers all 4 divisions. The governor recommends a core reduction of $142,000 of PS and $331,000 of E&E and 3 FTE.
Can I interrupt? Did you just want us to go over the NDIs, Senator, or did you want us to go through the whole budget?
Any changes
Okay.
within the budget, including NDIs? I
Okay.
knew about the flexibility, et cetera, that request, but I've opened my book to 13, and I've got a couple questions around that. But
Well, that's what we'll move to.
what you're doing is fine.
All right, we will move on to page 13, which is the flat plate distribution. The governor recommends $6.1 million of state highway funds for E&E.
Okay, I have a few questions around that, and I thank you so much for sending that priority-based budgeting stuff back on that, and thank you very much for doing that. Hopefully, as we go through these rough times the director talked about, I think it's a tool to help all of us think, do we really need to do this? Do we really need to start it? So I've got a couple questions around this one. I think the first one that is just this 6.1 million, how much of that's a one-time in the changeover? And is that just going to be a core increase from now on as we go to these flat plates and make this choice? Is that question clear enough? Is it 6.1? And I apologize for I looked at part of the information, but not all of it.
This is ongoing. This is not a one-time.
It's not going to be a one-time. It's
Yeah.
going to be on top of what we're doing on the embossed plates currently.
That is correct.
So
Okay.
we are going to be changing from embossed plates to flat plates because we're going to have to go to 7 digits on our configuration. There's a lot of states that have gone to flat plates. They actually will last longer. We're always concerned about, we actually partner with MVE, you all know that, to make our plates. And they were going to have to get new machines anyway. Some of their machines are 40, 50 years old. So if we're going to make a change, now is a good time to do that. It also will allow us to get plates quicker than we do now. Right now, if you've ever gone out there and taken a tour, the prisoners have paddles with the numbers and letters that they have to make indentions in those plates. Then those plates have to go and have the blue painted on them. and then they have to cure for 24 to 48 hours. With flat plates, we don't have that. So hopefully we'll be able to get them much more quickly. They'll last longer, and it's hard to imagine we're running out of configurations with 6 digits, but I don't like to compare us to Illinois, but if you look at Illinois plates, they already have 7 digits on theirs, and many other states do.
How close are we, what's the department's prediction of when we will truly run out of the combination? I know you don't wait till the day you do that, and a prediction is somewhat a guess.
It is a guess.
And-
And our plan is we're going to be hopefully rolling out a new system in hopefully February of 27. That's when we'll go to 7-digit. However, if we have plates that are still available in the 6-digit, we will continue to use those until they are exhausted, as far as the raised letter, the embossed. The interesting thing about the configuration is, I can't give you a definitive answer on when we run out of that. Sorry. We've actually had to take some plates.
Well, you know there's people debating whether we need to do this, right?
I do. But there are many things that have gone into this decision, and we've worked very, very closely with MVE and the Department of Corrections because it is a good partnership with them. They do make our plates. We don't have to go to a third-party vendor. They're a good partner for this. And I think that we are going to see some efficiencies with going this direction. Again, we're going to be able to get those plates in our hand a lot quicker. We're not going to have waste. When a prisoner makes a mistake, then we have aluminum. The interesting part, too, it's hard to imagine, but aluminum has gone up exponentially since COVID. Part of that is the cost as well. I mean, we don't get these plates free, even though it is from MVE. Those costs have gone up, and what has happened over the last few years, those plate costs should have risen because of the aluminum cost. But they didn't, and they didn't come to us and say we need to have more money. So unfortunately, we're seeing it all in this one number. That the aluminum, I believe it was, I can't remember the exact number, but it was more than 50%, could be as high as 90% increase in aluminum. And again, that should have been increasing annually over the last several years, and that didn't happen. So we're seeing that big bump at this juncture. They also pay their prisoners a little bit more. Now, I'm not saying they make minimum wage, because I know they don't, but, and the other thing is, not that this would hopefully ever happen, going to this type of plate, there are safety concerns at MVE, there are efficiency there as well. If there were a shutdown of JCCC, we could still run plates based on this new way of doing it. So we wouldn't be shut down because of the technology, the way they handle the aluminum. There will be less waste as well because it will be a program that tells them the plate configurations that we need, and they'll be able just to make those plates. So, and there won't be the curing and all that sort of thing. So I would hope that I'm one of those people that I don't tell you things that I don't believe in, and I'm going to tell you the truth every time I talk to you. I would hope and beg that the committee, that the legislature understands that we are moving in a good direction for not only the amount of money we're spending, but also the service to our constituents across the state of Missouri, because that's really customer service is what we need to look at. And we are also trying to put things in like getting rid of these darn tip tags that we see across the state that are expired, some of them 2 and 3 years. So I know that's not everything you want to hear, but I just wanted to give you a hierarchy. And I know that whenever Director Foley's here, I'm sure he'll have more to share on that as well.
Senator Sirboy.
did the quick math, and you got 36 characters, right? All the numbers and all the letters. So 36 to the sixth.
There's 6 character now. I'm trying to figure what
No,
you're asking.
I'm saying that we got 26 letters and 10 numbers. We have 36 possible to the sixth power, which is over 2 billion. How are we running out of plates?
Well, one, we don't use every digit. So there are some, and I'd have to get those for you. I know there's 26 in the alphabet, and there are some of those digits that are not used on a regular basis. So, and then we have configurations that we have to be careful with that with social media and everything else, we had a configuration recently we had to pull from the shelf because it was offensive. So we have to be careful how those letters and numbers are put together.
Okay. I was just curious because that's a big number, and if
It
you
is.
times 36, if you go 7 characters, you can have 78 billion combinations. So it gets big very quickly.
But think about how long we've had 6 digits. And I could get to the year that started.
Right, but
I
you reuse them,
remember.
right? Somebody had one in 1953. That could be issued again. So
So we don't normally use configurations over and over again because let's just talk about 1953. If you got a 1953 Buick Skylark, I don't even know if they made those in 53, so don't hold me to that. But and it's an antique car, and you find that plate, you can get that plate and put it on that vehicle. So it's to use configurations over and over again. Never know when that's going to happen.
Okay.
But let me get you the sequences.
And a
because
different question, on the temporary tags, when is the drop dead date when dealers will start doing that and temporary tags will be gone?
It'll be sometime in February of 27.
So a year from now, temporary tags will be gone.
I certainly hope so.
Even
sir.
small
That-
dealers will be required to go through the state system and do it
That
that
is
way?
correct. That is correct.
Okay, so, because I know I bought a car last summer in CarMax, and they did it then, so some are doing it now, I suppose. Okay, thank you.
And we will be collecting sales tax. So that was the purpose of this.
Right, and the
you know,
dealers
if you
get
see a-
2%,
Yeah.
right? The people that do it get their 2%.
That's correct. That's correct. So, I mean, if you see a temp tag, that means they haven't, came in and registered their vehicle and they haven't paid the tax. So, yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Senator.
Senator May.
I know I'm jumping the gun. I know we're not here yet, or you probably talked about it before I sat down. But I'm interested in the driver's licenses. Are we still, who is doing that now?
The driver's license, issuing driver's license,
Yeah, I know the locals are issuing them, but I'm talking about, who's creating our driver's license. Because, we go in and then we have to wait for it to be mailed to us. We didn't used to have to do that. And it changed when we were in the house. I'm trying to figure out, I know who changed it, but I'm not going there.
Sure, I understand what you're saying. So we have a company called IDEMIA that actually prints those in a secure environment, in a secure location, that right now when you go in to get a driver's license, you get a piece of paper, and then, like you said, Senator, it's mailed to you in the mail. One of the reasons we did that is back when I was Director of Revenue 20 years ago, you used to get them whenever you just walked into an office, didn't you? And they took your picture and they made them right there. I had a constituent that brought in 2 boxes of those blank cards that they had bought at a flea market that for some reason FedEx never got them delivered the right place or they got lost. Security on the driver's license is extremely important, and that's why we have a third party that produces them. And then we change what's in the card that we know about so that it makes them secure. I think the other part is, now that we're really heavy into Real ID, we are not just a driver's license state anymore. The IDs that we issue are used for many, many, many other things. It's just not for driving. To get into the hospital, to get a prescription. We work with people because it's a way of proving who they are, because we ask them to prove who they are. So that security in that driver's license that you have in your purse, all the features on there are critical. And That's why we have, and we changed them, that's why we have a company that produces them with all those
And
markers.
where is that company?
Excuse me?
Where is that company? Or
I
who
think
is that
it's,
company?
yeah. What? Springfield, Illinois.
Okay.
It used to be someplace else, but they moved to Illinois. When I've worked with IDEMIA over the years.
Okay, IDEMIA.
IDEMIA.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Couple more questions on
Sure.
the license plate, and maybe for Director Foley. But the agreement between DOR and MVE, what's that agreement include? Some high picture things? Because it's been an agreement for years and years, right?
It has.
Yeah. And that I guess I'm wondering, I'm wondering what we pay when we pay for license. I don't think paying for our license pays for the cost of doing this. It comes out of the road fund somewhere for the additional cost. How often does Department of Revenue and Department of Corrections look back over that contract, et cetera?
Well, we have an MOU, obviously, and I can't say that I've reviewed it since I've been there because this has just been the norm for us. This is, instead of bidding this out, we have always worked with MVE, and we have a great, great, great partnership. They even help us with the stickers that go on the license plate. And by the way, we are going to change that with the new system, that your license plate number will be on your sticker. And so, because Marketplace just a month or so ago, there were stickers for sale for $20. You could buy fabricated stickers that could go on your plate. So we are trying to put some things in there for security. If people would just follow the law and do the right thing, the world would be a great place, but that doesn't happen. But I can get you the latest MOU, and again, we talk with corrections all the time if you would like to see it.
The timing of when it's reviewed is
Okay.
probably as much as anything. And
Sure.
again, for anybody listening in, I'm not saying that I'm up here wanting to no longer do this, to go to private vendor or something. I asked because you stated something earlier that all of a sudden this raise come in because somebody decided not to do it. And in my past, I hated that when those things happen. I wish I would have got the raise instead of you coming and telling me all of a sudden that the raise is going to be that much.
Well, and I can tell you this, I'm not going to go to MV and say, don't you want to charge us more? I'm not going to ever do that. So, but again, I will get you that percentage of the aluminum increase so that you are aware of that. And,
Yeah, because with this timing, I have another question that just goes to it. Will this ever go the other way?
if
And
the aluminum
probably the
prices go
answer
down,
to say
sure,
is
yeah.
no.
Um,
And we
you know-
we never go the other way.
Well, unfortunately, we do have labor costs that are much lower than if we would do an RFP and go out and have these, fabricated someplace else. I do believe there are savings there because of minimum wage and everything else, and I'll get you even the price that they're paying their inmates, which again is not very much. So.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to now move on to page 23 to taxation, where the governor did recommend a core reduction of GR for $1 million in PS and $163,000 in E&E and 19 FTE. Moving on to page 37 to motor vehicle driver's license system. The governor recommends a core reduction of GR of $120,000 in E&E and no change in FTE. Okay, now we will move on to general counsel's office. The general counsel's office is found on page 44. The governor recommends a reduction of GR for $129,000 of PS and $15,000 in E&E. Okay, moving on to division administration on page 51. The governor recommends a core reduction of GR for $207,000 in PS, $140,000 in E&E, and 4 FTE. And if you want to move on to page 64, that was our postage rate increase NDI, which the governor did not recommend. Okay, moving on to the page 67 for the appropriated tax credits.
Okay, with this, Is this the exact postage we're talking about, the bills also that are moving through the legislature?
Yes, that's to get rid of certified mail. That did pass the House. They did add the blind pension fund to that bill, and I don't know if Senator Crawford's, she's probably aware of that. We send certified mail. We're required by law to send certified mail for certain notices. We find that 42% of them are not even delivered, and if they come back, if they aren't signed for at home, they have to go back to the post office. You have to go in and sign for them. Certified mail is $5.30 more than first class. If we send out first class, we can give people the option either to get first class or to get email. We know that technology is everything, and sometimes people would prefer to get an email as opposed to getting something in the mail. We did not get this postage increase. If we could get this bill passed, that will save $2.1 million. It will allow us to use electronic means and other, and just, I'm going to say first-class postage. We send out about 10 million pieces of mail at the Department of Revenue. I think sometimes we could be our own post office, to be quite honest. And we get the best rate that we can. We haggle with the U.S. Postal Service. Additionally, I know that you've seen some of our mail and it has those barcodes on the front of the letter. Okay, that helps mail get to where it needs to go because that interfaces with USPS and what they read. Talking about the blind pension, having been at the Secretary of State's office, you know they have Wilfner Library there, and that's a library for the blind. Many of our blind patrons have readers now that can actually read aloud emails they get. And so if they get something certified, they're going to have to wait till they get to somebody to read that to them. So there's some benefit there, and that will be a little bit of cost savings, I believe, for Department of Social Services as well. So the certified mail, it would be great, and this is GR. This is not highway, this is GR. And that's what we are doing at the department, looking at every way that we can help save GR. Because the more we can put back in that bucket, the more that you all can use that for appropriation purposes. And I know that's a long answer, but I just did want to make sure that I mentioned the blind pension fund as well.
Okay, back to page 67 and appropriated tax credits rolling stock, which was not recommended. Now move on to page 107. This is the general revenue refunds increase. The governor recommends $164.3 million. Okay, now on to page 174. This will be the new decision item for parks sales tax fund transfer increase. The governor recommends $9,076. This is in other transfer funds, which is a non-count. Moving on to page 184, which is the soil and water tax fund transfer increase. The governor recommends $9,076 in other transfer funds, which is also a non-count. And that is all our new decision items.
Okay. On page 231. Okay, yeah. I jumped the gun, I didn't read the line right before that.
That's okay.
Right, 231's sitting over here, you're
Yeah.
right.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're happy to hand that off. So. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Oh, no, I did forget one thing that Senator Nuremberg brought up with earlier, so this won't take long, but do get the microphone. I don't know whether you were listening, I'm sure, whenever there was discussion at Treasurer's office about movers. And even though they have a small office, pretty important to have that signature on check going out. So I would think that your office is fairly important with movers because we can't write a check until you guys receive it. What, where are you guys at the table helping with movers? I would like for you, but you don't again, you said you're honest, so you don't have to tell me what I would like to hear. I would like to hear that, yeah, things are going to go better now. But give me some inclination. Do you have regular people there that you trust to be there at the meetings, make sure it's known? Was it a good idea to kind of put this second phase on hold? And you feel more confident in being able to get the money so the treasurer can send the checks?
It was a great question that she asked, and the young lady sitting next to me is extremely engaged in movers. Now, we have about a little over, but anywhere from 1,200 to 1,250 employees, but we have a small administrative division. We don't have hundreds of people that are doing that. But we do have a number of people that are in HR and administration that are working with movers and have been for a long time. I think it was a great thing that it was paused and we did not move forward with July 1st. We collected about $21 billion. That's what we collected last year. And that money comes in and money goes out. And a lot of money goes to those political subdivisions out there because we collect sales tax. So interfacing with the bank we use is critical. And we've struggled with some of the interfaces, I'll just tell you that. But I do believe that Director Hune is kind of taking over the lead on that. I've had many conversations with her. Revenue was not a voting member of the movers the way it was set up originally. And because the state operates on money, I believe that that we should have a seat at that table. So I've asked Director Hune, I said, I'm happy to help. I'm happy to work with the direction because we have to get the money in the bank and we have to get the money out. So I think it's moving in the right direction. I've been at meetings. I think it's important that that I know what's going on and I'm sitting there to make sure that revenue gets what they need. But I assure you, we're going to put the effort in and we are going to work with the director and with Accenture to get where we need to go. So I think we're moving in the right direction.
That's last few words were good to hear. I've remained relatively silent on this, but now that I've changed positions, I can't be silent anymore. I don't want to go home to 19 counties and find out that all those municipalities are no longer getting their money. And I guess you watched me roll the eyes. People listening didn't get to do that, but to think that the agency that gives us the money to spend did not have some level of authority during this was shocking. I didn't know that. So thank you very much, Director.
You're welcome. I know it's kind of tough.
I think my order is State Tax Commission, correct? And lottery, if I remember right, is the last one on my list. I'm sure he's happy to be sitting here waiting on me.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. For the record, Gary Romine, Chairman of the Missouri State Tax Commission. With me today, I have Commissioner McGinnis, Commissioner Razor, our Administrative Secretary to my right, and Dan Hutton, our Ombudsman from the State Tax Commission / Legislative Liaison. The State Tax Commission is a constitutional agency charged with the responsibility of the administration and oversight of the statewide property assessment program. Generates $11.1 billion annually in local revenues, and that's very important to restate. These are county funds. These are local revenues. The local revenues generated fund 2,832 taxing districts in the state of Missouri, which includes public schools, which is approximately $8.35 billion to 518 public schools, local government and other political subdivisions such as fire departments, ambulance services, road and bridge, and community libraries. We provided a handout with some more detail on regarding our agency rather than going into a lot of that. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Ms. Stacy, who is our office administrator and our budget guru, but I'd be happy to answer any questions as well as we go along. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. We'll probably have some questions as we go through.
Okay. The State Tax Commission's budget starts on page 220 of the budget book. This is our STC core, which funds our personal service and expense and equipment. The total appropriations for this is $3.037 million with a staffing complement of 37 FTE. The State Tax Commission has 6 basic functions, which is to equalize assessments, hear taxpayer appeals on property assessments, formulate and implement statewide assessment policy, supervise local assessing officials and their assessment programs, and conduct ratio studies to determine the level of assessment in each county and the original assessment of distributable property, which is railroad and utilities. We have 4 sections that carry out these constitutional statutory duties. That's administration, legal section, local assistance, and original assessment. And more information, as Chairman Romine stated, is in the handout that we provided you, as well as the Department of Revenue program book, which starts on page 118 of that book. Page 228 is our flexibility request, which we respectfully request 10% flexibility, which we have asked in the past year. And we did utilize flexibility last year as our offices were forced to move to a new location. We had to pay for some of those relocation and modeling costs. Page 229 is an NDI for the Taxpayer Protection Ombudsman. This was not recommended by the governor. Page 231 is... excuse me.
But to clarify, because of the traveling that we did with the House members over the summer on their interim committee and the emphasis that they put on the ombudsman's position, we did move Dan, our legislative liaison, into that position, promoted him to it. So at this time, he's serving the duties of legislative liaison, but we have a vacancy and a need for that position. So ombudsman, legislative liaison, both positions are very important, but we felt that the emphasis that the House was putting on the ombudsman's position, we needed to take action, which we did.
Just to clarify, we don't actually have a vacancy. We just moved that over there, so we're lacking a legislative liaison position and the funding for that position. Page 231 is additional taxpayer protection NDI. There were 5 FTE requested. The governor only recommended 1, which is a clerical position for the administrative section.
Okay, that is a question. Restate that again.
The entire FTE was requested for 5 FTE, and the governor recommended 1 clerical for administration.
Yeah, clerical for administration. So the department requested 5. We end up with 1 with clerical. What is this one person going to be helping without the other 4?
So this position specifically will help in my section. We are pretty inundated, especially with movers. We've just had to take on a lot more duties. And part of the administration section is we do help the other sections within the agency, so they would be helping in all aspects.
Okay. This position wasn't directly tied to the need of the other 4.
Other 4 sections.
The other 4 positions, the 4
Oh, no,
positions that
those-
weren't recommended. You know, when I read over this, I was thinking clerical for those 4, and if they're not going to be there, what's the purpose? So thank you for explaining this clerical person is going to be in your division and trying to help out with various complaints that come through and other things, right? And
Right.
you also discussed movers when you said that as well.
Yeah.
And also this section, the administrative section, works with the other 3 departments, as you said. As most do not know, our 3 hearing officers do not have assistants. They draft their own decisions, they log it, they do all the work. So Stacy and some of her staff, but mostly Stacy, ends up trying to help where she can in the legal department. This administrative person would help, again, culminate all the activities within the office to be a support staff to all parts of the commission itself, but under Stacy's direction.
Okay. Please continue.
Okay. Page 234 is our assessment maintenance core. The assessment maintenance is provided to local assessment jurisdictions, and we provide up to 60% of all costs associated with them implementing a 2-year assessment plan. State statute further allows for a range of reimbursement to counties for assessment costs not to exceed $7 per parcel or fall below $3 per parcel. This core request is in the amount of $8.3 million, which was the amount recommended by the governor. And this funds counties at $330 per parcel for the first 20,000 parcels based on the 2024 parcel count. And the median cost for the counties to keep their statewide programs up running is about $20 per parcel. This program provides roughly 13% of the actual cost for them to run their assessment group.
Senator Hudson.
Yeah, thank you all for being here. Just wanted to ask some questions. Some of these I already know the answer to, but we're going to talk about it.
Other people need to know that.
Online here. So talking about the assessment maintenance program, you mentioned there that the current cost, and this is in the governor's recommended amount, is for $330 per parcel for the first 20,000 parcels.
Well, they gave us an amount, and we figured the amount that we will use. So the way I applied, what the governor recommended is for smaller counties that really rely on our funding. We left the funding at the current level of $3.30 per parcel, so those smaller counties can still get their portion of the pie. And any county that has over 20,000 parcels will get reimbursed at a lesser amount. I think that came out to be $1.6363 over 20,000 parcels.
So these other counties are not going to get the $330 for the first 20,000.
Every county
Every
will
county
get
gets
$330 for the
first
first 20, but like a
Okay.
smaller county that's only got 5,000 parcels, they're
Yeah.
getting the full. I didn't want to drop it all the way to $3 per parcel, and those smaller counties suffer that loss.
Exactly, and the smaller counties
They really need it.
depend incredibly upon this to balance their budgets and hire
So
staff and all
it's
that.
large counties, and anything over the 20,000, they'll still get some money, but it's not at 330. I think it's 1.6363. I took it out as far as I could to lapse as little money as possible.
Okay, and I think it's important to point out that at one time, the state was actually paying correct me if I'm wrong, if memory serves, about $6 a parcel, and we're going back to the days of Governor Nixon's the one that cut that down right after I took office as county assessor. It's not the reason for it, but it just happened to happen that
Right.
way.
Hell, you might have.
And it was cut down to $3 a parcel, and then we worked in the legislature during my time in the House to get this up to
One year you got it 15 cents to
Yeah.
330 the next, or 315, then the next
Yeah.
year you got it to 330.
And this is money that is distributed to our counties so that they can make sure and conduct business.
And statutorily, it's $3 to $7 is the flexibility that can be appropriated.
Right. So potentially, statutorily, we could go up to $7. Are you withholding funds from any counties right now?
We are.
Yes.
Okay. Do you know off the top of your head how many counties?
I do not, but I can furnish a list.
Okay, I think that would probably be of interest to the chair and the committee if we had that information. Yeah, that's all I got, Mr. Chair, unless you got anything.
Thank you very much. No, I think by looks thing, you may be the experts on this question. Thank you.
To continue on page 239 is the NDI for assessment maintenance. We put forth a request every year to at least keep the per parcel count or the parcel count updated. So this is a request for $65,000, which just updates the parcel count from the 24 count to the 25 count, which is 3,448,453 parcels. And the governor did recommend that. And that's all we have.
Thank you. Any other questions, committee members? Yes, Senator Crawford.
Good morning. Can you give us an update on the appeals, the Kansas City appeals, and where we're at on all that? Are we making any progress? And
We are making progress. We've been in communications quite frequently with the county legislature as well as Lavota, county executive. He's committed to honoring the 24 equalization order that we put out to bring those in line. We're in the process of hopefully getting some documentation to substantiate the progress that's coming on. And as soon as we get that available, we can provide that to you as well. But We still have some hearings outstanding, court cases that are under appeal we hopefully within the next few months get some finalization on that as well to solidify the equalization order.
So follow up, what do we need to do to make this process, to fix this process? And it's maybe two questions. It's my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, that on the St. Louis side of the state, there were thousands over there too, but they've dealt with them, but the Kansas City has not. And can you talk about that a little bit? Is that correct?
We are in the process. We held up on some of the St. Louis decisions until we got the court decision on the notification and inspection process, which is a key portion of the process. And I think 1,400 of the 21 appeals was taken care of this past week or so, and another large chunk in the St. Louis area, which will be a ripple effect of what the lawsuit that was decided in Kansas City. The key thing in Kansas City is that the assessor, which is no longer there, does follow the order of notification and inspections, and that unless there is not a proper notification or inspection, assessments cannot be raised more than 15%. That's in statute. We have
For
to
the
monitor
residential subclass.
in the residential subclass. And so, again, our monitoring of that put things into effect to deal with it, and we hope that we've shined a light on the process well enough that going forward, that the new administration and the new assessor coming in will understand and follow the necessary procedures on the assessment in Kansas City. We think we're on a track to get it fixed, I guess is my short answer.
Okay, that's good to hear. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Romine. Thank you
you, sir.
very much.
Appreciate it.
You guys have a good day.
We will.
Ma'am, let me see what watch you have on. Okay. You were back there looking at it like, Chairman, hurry up, shut up. Yeah, I have a wife with one of those watches, so she knows way too much when she looks at her wrist sometimes.
In all fairness, she is a brand-new grandmother just about 3 weeks ago.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's the only reason to raise children, as far as I'm concerned, after the 4 I had. Okay. Director, good to see you again.
Good to see you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, and members of the committee. I'm Lester Elder, the Executive Director from Missouri Lottery. Sitting to my right is our Deputy Director and Chief Financial Officer, Judy Martin. We're very happy to be here to present our budget. I've met with each one of you individually, so I'm not going to take up too much of your time going over our history with our lottery, but I will touch on just a couple of things. We are self-funded through ticket sales, no general revenue, so I wanted to point that out. This year's our 40th anniversary. We've had $8.7 billion to Missouri education since we've been around since 1986. This year we're excited. Since January we've had 10 millionaires for 2026, so off to a big start. Last September we had one of the the third highest Powerball winner in U.S. history with half of $1.78 billion, so that was exciting. So. But no, I'm very excited to be here. Happy to answer any questions, and we'll quickly go through a budget so you can get on to your session.
Thank you, Director.
So we have 2 new decision items. They're actually related to each other, so it's really just one. And the first one is on page 249. The governor has recommended an advertising increase of $4.6 million. This will bring our advertising budget up to $10 million, or 0.62% of sales. This compares with an average lottery industry ad budget of 1.04% of sales and an average ad budget of contiguous state lotteries of 1.24% of sales. The second NDI is
Director,
on
let's do this. And you know where my heart is when you guys, not because of anybody sitting in front of me, but we didn't have trailer state fair, and my camper blew up with all the more mature people upset that they couldn't go get their lottery tickets every day. So remember that in the background. What's the guess you have that this 4.6 could produce?
So the, kind of go backwards just a little bit, we had $16 million in advertising funds back.
It was not that long ago.
Not long ago, and it reduced down from 16 million to 5 million to 1.5 to 400,000. We have an individual or an independent study that's done yearly. It's SMARI, Statistical Marketing and Research Insights. Our ad awareness and spending went from 55% of the eligible players back in FY 2018, 16 million, and incrementally went down to, we were down to 35% with 400,000. Since we've got back up to 5.4 million, we're up to around 55% of ad awareness. So we are seeing that we're trying to slow that curve and go back up. Our goal is to advertise at least 12 months out of the year. Right now, we have the funds to do about 6 months of advertising. Our traditional scratcher sales, we've got a diverse portfolio so that we can kind of go with the ups and downs of jackpots. We have traditional lottery, which is the scratcher sales. They're about 68% of our total sales. They've been declining over the last 4 years. This year, we've actually slowed that decline, and we're actually up 1%. So our goal is we have new tickets that come out each month. And if we can advertise each month to get those ticket sales up, if we can increase those traditional lottery sales, when you're talking 68%, if you can increase that by 1% or 2%, that makes a big difference in our sales. So to give you an actual dollar amount of how much we're going to increase sales, that's hard to do with advertising because of all the other factors that play into, we didn't expect the economy to go bad the last two or 3 years. And, jackpots are also drive free advertising and sales. So our goal is to be able to try to meet the state mandate. Our state mandate went from $338 million to $430 million in 3 fiscal years, which is a pretty large growth. We've never met that before. Last year we had $337 million transferred. That was our 5th highest year ever to education. We're on track this year. We're about 5.2% above. We're on track to be around the $370 million. So we would like to try to get to that state mandated goal, but to be able to do that, we're going to have to advertise our product. We're trying to advertise something that nobody wants, or nobody needs. They have to want it, and we have more competition now than we ever did. Lottery used to be the only game in town. In the mid-'90s, the casinos came around. Now you've got sports betting. You've got the prediction market, which is a whole new form of gambling with futures and Bitcoin. You have the gray machines. So we have a lot of competition now that we didn't have before, so advertising is relevant.
Well, yes, Senator Nuremberg.
Actually, as you say that, good morning, Director.
Good
Nice
morning.
to see
How are
you.
you?
As you say, obviously there is a lot of competition going on. So talk to us a little bit. We had extensive conversations last week in this committee when the Attorney General was here, and she made the ask that those machines need to be unplugged and removed right now from C-stores. So talk to us a little bit about C-stores that have a lottery retail license. If they continue to have these machines plugged in and operating, are you going to remove your lottery licenses from them?
So we have to follow our state statute as far as, we have some criteria that if they're convicted of any type of a gambling crime, they would have their license revoked. So if there is a successful conviction of any C-store that would have those machines, then yes, by our state statute, we'd have to
But
revoke
you're
their
going to wait
license.
for the conviction, not the top law enforcement officer in the state saying remove these things, they're illegal?
Well, we would have to have something to fall back on if they appeal why they're out. So
So you're going to wait on convictions before you remove the license?
for the revocation, yes.
Okay.
And it's a hard, to be quite honest with you, could we go out and say, if you have a gray machine, we're going to take away all the lottery licenses? Absolutely, we could. What would probably happen is we would have no lottery sales, and those machines would continue to flourish until they're gone. And then you guys would be asking me, why aren't our lottery sales up, and what are we doing about it? So it would take more of a coordinated effort with multiple agencies and their licenses to be able to effectively do something to be more effective than just us taking their lottery license.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Director, one more thing on this 4.6. I think, and you said something a minute ago that I see that you are. You said, to be perfectly honest, I always think you are honest. You don't have to preference before you state something, say that to me. I want to believe that this 4.6 million doesn't do what you expect it to do in a couple years or something, that you're going to be the person that comes back and says, hey, Rusty, we're going to move it. And I know it's not GR, et cetera, but we're going to move it into education because that 4.6 didn't do. We only need 2.3 of it or so. So hopefully that's in your back of your head, and maybe in a few years you come back and say, it did better than I thought, so I need to do something else. So please keep that in the back of your mind. I know the level of trust that in my time here with Missouri Lottery has changed over and changed for the better recently. So,
And absolutely, that's a moving target that we will look at every year. And my first year when we had 400,000, we were trying to increase it to, we were trying to go to 8 million, which was half of what we used to have. And you know, the question is, what's enough advertising and what's too much advertising? I mean, there's a return on investment that you have to monitor, and right now with the 5.4, the advertising costs have gone up. We're not able to advertise 12 months out of the year. It doesn't appear that it's enough to be able to do what we need to do to sell our tickets. If 10 million gets us to that point to where our ticket sales increase greatly and we're able to advertise each month, we'll do that. If it's too much, we'll come back and talk about that. But that's something that we look at every year and estimate, and we wanted to kind of see where that 5.4 took us the last 2 years, and it's quite frankly not enough to be able to do what we need to do to sell tickets.
yeah, well, that you stated earlier in part of your answer somewhere that the competition's out there, so maybe what happened with advertising even 15 years ago, there's only so many dollars for some of us to be able to spend on that. Of course, you know,
Correct.
I'm not willing to spend any on it, either, anything.
Right.
But there's only so many dollars this go around, so I hope you find that spot that allows Missouri Lottery to get at the highest point of diminishing returns before we start wasting money.
That's what we're looking for, sir. Yes.
Thank you.
All right, and we just have one more NDI, and this is on page 262. This relates to the advertising increase. The governor recommended $4.6 million in transfer from the state lottery fund to the lottery enterprise fund to fund the $4.6 million advertising increase.
Thank you very much. Right now, scheduled is Secretary of State for tomorrow and Department of Health, but we may also be working on, please keep track in case we notice up on the supplemental bill as well that was brought in, okay? So that could happen sometime yet this week, so please have you or your staff keep track of that and anyone listening. With that, we are adjourned.
Thank you, Chairman. You bet.